Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to look at more deep into the deployment which we have done. So right now we have completed the deployment. I'm logging into the admin console. So we have completed the deployment. You can see that deployment name is there. So within which we have the modules. So this depends on how many modules, how many AJP modules, how many web services modules you're going to have within the EAR file. So it's going to list down those things. If you have going to have multiple var files inside it, it will be coming in as modules, and multiple modules will show up over here. So each module will have its own setting. For example, this is the deployment setting. This is your deployment plan. As of now, we don't have any deployment plan. We have the configuration over here for your deployment, and we have security related policies and rules here for the application level security. Here we have targets here for us we have mapped it on the cluster level. So that's basically the target right now. In terms of control, we can stop and start this deployment, as in we can stop this particular deployment. So that is something we can do. We can also do the testing over here. We have seen it already. And then we can also see the monitoring over here. In terms of we can monitoring the health of the deployment, we can see the queries. We can see the workload of the deployment right now. There's nothing much. This is completed to request. So those are something which we can do in the deployment. In terms of command line, this is a staging mode. This is the default method of deployment. So which means that you are going to have U01 domain, broad domain. And within this broad domain, you're going to have the folder of the server folder, and then the server which we have which actually was started. Now do remember that there are two servers under the cluster, but after the deployment we only started the first server, the managed server one. So which means that under the managed server you will have a folder created called stage folder, and under that you have the deployment files copied over here. So this is called the staging deployment. We have already seen on the architecture diagram. So staging deployment enables you to have your application working on stage mode. So which means that you basically have the var file or the AR file copied into your every managed servers folder and have that deployed. So as you can see over here, the folder is deployed. And if you see the recursive files inside this folder, you will see a EAR file. So this basically is the one which got copied. That's the stage deployment meaning. So the next thing I want to show you is the temp folder. So the temp folder holds a very important information of processed data. So if you go to WL user, so internal is basically your internal, which connects with your admin server and uses those files for internal purposes. So that those things will be the internal. In terms of application which you have deployed, you have to go to WL user, and then in the user folder you will see the application name, and within that application name, whatever the items which is processed by your CPU will be kept in, like you can see that index.jsp we have executed, right? So the index class is there, and it is under the JSP servlet location. You can see that this is the compiled output of from the CPU that has been stored in the temporary folder, and then some JSP files which is part of your application. Part of your var file is also being there for processing. Anytime it processes anything, it just basically puts it on the temp folder. So right now what you're getting is like an projected output of what you are getting from the temp folder. So whatever the application you were able to test previously, right? So that will be actually coming in from the memory directly, but a copy of that file will also be stored in the temp folder. So that's basically is this location. So you can see over here this output of this particular file will also be stored in this location as well. So right now it's updated at 23:33, and current time is 2:23. So this is the time when we deployed the application. So there could be a pre-compiled JSP enabled by default, so which means that it is going to compile some of the files which is going to be executed later point of time. So that's that's what I wanted to cover in this video, to have a look at how the stage deployment work. In the next video we will do no stage deployment, and I'll show you the properties of that in while we are doing that that video. But do remember one more thing I want to tell you. So we have not done the manage server 2, right? So if you go inside the manage server 2, you will not find the stage folder because we have not started the manage server 2, which means that the deployment has not commenced over here on this JVM. So when you start this JVM, then with the JVM startup, it will synchronize the data from the admin server, and admin server will actually tell that there is a deployment going on and you need to have this deployment copied. So if you go over here to the admin server, so you can see that there is no stage folder here because we have not done the deployment on the admin server. So do remember that. So if you go to the config folder, let's see what are the configuration level changes took place here. So when you go to the config folder, you have the default security configuration. And after that, you have the admin server definition over here. So which talks about the admin server, which uses the default port number. That's why it's not coming in. SSL is enabled over here, and the listen address is WLS host 1, and auto kill if failed is false, and health check interval is 181 seconds. In terms of the manage server 1, you can see that the port number is defined both for HTTP and HTTPS. And you can also see some WebLogic related configuration over here. And this is basically the Java related configurations are over here as well. And then in terms of manage 2, you can also see the same thing. You can see that the configuration is done. And then you can see the cluster configuration also over here, in which we see that we have like the production domain here with the credentials, and then finally the deployment details. So what it is saying is like app deployment. Here it says that tele underscore version 1, and here it says about the target where the application deployment is targeted, and what's the extension or the what module type, which is AAR, and then the source path location where it needs to take the source path, and then security module, and then staging mode is true. So it is telling what kind of a mode of deployment it is. And then you can also see the deployment plan is enabled, but we have not created at this moment. We will create it later. Now the mission configuration over here. The mission configuration talks about the missions, mission details over here, which is basically the one machine we have configured, which is your node manager service. So that is also there here. So as of now, migratable targets is just created for these two servers. That's a default one. So if you want to do a migration in terms of any problem with the existing server, you may have to create servers within the migratable targets. So that's something which we need to do later point of time. So let's not worry about that now. All right, so now you understand that the configuration file, which is the config.xml, is also updated. You can also see that inside there is a folder called deployment. Here in the deployment folder also you can see that whatever the files we have deployed so far, there's a backup which is taken and kept here. So this is a folder directory. So this is the folder which was created, and basically it is maintaining it in that way. Thank you again for your patience and time. I'll see you on the next video with more details on the next mode of deployment.